Hi, welcome to my kitchen. Today, as I was looking outside my window on this very cold, wintry day, it's snowing, it's minus 25 degrees here in Canada, and I was remembering the dishes that used to make me feel nice and warm and toasty inside. And a lot of the dishes that have a stew, a sauce, that are hot, and hearty are the dishes that come to mind. Now, one of those dishes that I'm going to be making today is stuffed peppers. Now here I've got a whole plate full of beautiful, colorful peppers on a bleak, wintry day like today, where everything is white and gray outside. The color of these peppers just brings some nice sunshine inside my kitchen. So what I've chosen here is actually peppers. They're bell peppers that are not your average size. They're actually cute little mini peppers, okay? I like this size. I find that there's less seeds in them. That's why I like to use them. So you could certainly make this recipe using just the big peppers, and that way you wouldn't eat as many of them, but I just like the little ones. And I start by actually cutting the bottom of the pepper. So I'm not going to take this part off. I actually like this part. I think it looks nice, and it just tells me that it's a pepper. So I'm not trying to change the pepper's personality, okay? I want to keep it looking natural. And then if you can see inside here, if you bring the camera closer, you can see the seeds that are in there. I just put my finger inside and just take out any little bits of seeds that are in here. And part of the beauty, I think, of using these little peppers is that actually it doesn't have a lot of seeds, okay? So you're left with an empty hole, just right, okay, for filling with something really delicious. So we start with rice. That's actually a short grain rice that I have pre-soaked in advance for about 30 minutes to half an hour to an hour. And then I rinsed it completely to release some of the excess starch. And what soaking rice does is actually makes your rice cook faster. And it also eliminates the excess starch so that you don't have sticky, gooey rice. And really that's the key. And then what I add to it is a little bit of clarified butter. Now, if you want to know how to make clarified butter, I have a video totally dedicated to how to make it step by step. So you can look on my page or on Instagram and you can find it, okay, how to make it. So I've got here 2 teaspoons of beautiful clarified butter, okay, and that's for flavor, okay? So salt goes inside. And salt is important because it also gives flavor and accentuates the savoriness of this dish. And then, of course, freshly ground black pepper is added. Okay, and you notice that I did not pre-cook the rice. So the rice is actually raw. All the cooking is going to happen in the one pot. Okay, so that is the key here. And I'm actually going to grate one inside my rice. Okay, and that's going to give it some really nice flavor. Okay, so the garlic goes inside the rice, not too much. Okay, I just put in actually a small garlic clove or half a large one is inside. All right, and then the spices that I like to use in this dish are the very spices that that go beautifully with many dishes that have the the Arabic flavors, which is what I'm trying to accentuate here. This is cinnamon, okay, and here this is allspice. So I'm going to mix these all together. So this dish does have meat, and what I've chosen here is actually lamb. Now, I don't particularly like when I'm making dishes that are stuffed. Often it's common to use ground meat, whether it's beef or lamb. I don't like the texture of it. That's my personal preference, but you could certainly use ground lamb. So I basically get lamb and I chop it up into teeny weeny little bits. And actually in Arabic we have a name for it, and I remember it's called, and I'm going to say it in Arabic, ras asfur, which literally means the head of a bird. So when you go to the butcher and you ask them to grind meat for you or prepare it, you ask them, instead of fine grind, you tell them ras asfur, the size of a bird's head. Now you can imagine when my mother actually first came to Canada, and she was used to going to a butcher and asking specifically for that, and she didn't know how to explain it to the person. And imagine the person behind the counter, you ask them, I want meat and I want it chopped like the head of a bird. So I remember when we were kids, we used to laugh and tell her, they don't know birds' heads here. You just have to tell them coarse or fine. It just doesn't work that way. But in Arabic, it's understood because it's a way that we describe the meat, okay, and the texture that we want it in. My personal preference is more meat than rice. If you like to put more rice than meat, then it's up to you, okay? I'll leave the quantities up to you, to what your preference is, but I particularly like it to be hearty with lots of meat. And when this cooks in the end, the little chunks of meat actually show from the rice, so it doesn't get all goopy and pasty like it would if it was finely ground meat. That's the reason why I like this, okay? And then the last flavor that I add on, and this is exactly staying true to the way my mother used to put to make this particular dish and a lot of her stuffed vegetables, is dry mint. And this is mint that I dry at home, okay? And I basically grind it with my hands and just let it. Mint and lamb go really beautiful together. It's a beautiful, beautiful flavor. All right, so that is it. There is no more spices that I like to add. This is my favorite combination. It's very simple. And then of course, there's also that added flavor of the pepper that's going to come through when we cook it. Okay, so our filling now is completely ready, of course. And I'm going to take each pepper that is now ready for my filling, and using my hands, which is the best tool in the kitchen, okay, I'm going to actually start placing my filling inside. Now, when you're filling this, be very gentle, okay? You're not trying to fill it and pack it in. You have to bear in mind that the filling is going to expand. Remember, there's rice in here, so you have to fill it, but be keep it loose, okay? Keep the filling loose. All right, now I've gone right up to maybe like 1/4 of a centimeter away from the edge, but it is full all the way to the end, and that's going to expand and fill that pepper completely. Now you could cook this on top of the stove like I'm going to do, or you could actually take this and put it in the oven and let it finish cooking. So I'm going to do it here today on the stove, okay? I'm going to take a little bit of my clarified butter. Okay, and that is the beginning. And then I'm going to take my minced garlic. Right, it doesn't take very long, and you can hear the sizzle already has begun. All right, so what I'm doing here is just basically sautéing my garlic. I'm not aiming to brown it excessively, but what I want is that aroma. Okay, raw garlic smells a certain way, and garlic that's been sautéed in butter is glorious. I don't need to tell you that. I'm sure you know that. This is tomato paste that you find in, of course, in a can. All right, and this is concentrated tomato juice. And what the tomato paste adds is a nice structure to the sauce. It gives it a little bit of thickness and heartiness. And I'm not putting a lot. There's probably about a tablespoon. I just want you to come closer here to the pot, and you can see some of the garlic starting to lightly brown, and that is just more beautiful flavor. It's caramelizing, okay? But we don't want to go farther than that. This is when I introduce my tomato paste. And I'm adding it now because I want to cook out the rawness that's in it, that almost like a floury flavor that's inside tomato paste that I want to get rid of before I actually add the liquid. and add the other flavors that I'm going to add. The liquid here is actually pureed tomatoes. So this is fresh tomatoes that I've taken the seeds out and I've taken the peel off as well. So this is just the meat of the tomato, okay? And that's going to go inside. And listen to that beautiful sound. Can you think of a better sound? Can you? I can't. Just beautiful. There's a little bit of beef stock or chicken stock, whatever you have. And if you don't have either, you can certainly just put a little bit of water. I'm not going to put as much stock as I'm putting tomato, but I want to ensure that there's a lot of flavor, nice meaty flavor, okay, in this sauce. So this is beef stock. So I'm creating a sauce, and I'm also creating the liquid spa, pretty much, for my peppers. So my peppers are actually going to cook in this, okay? So this is a little bit of allspice, again, that beautiful Jamaican spice that is glorious. And then again, a little bit of ground cinnamon goes inside. Salt and pepper. Okay, there's your pepper. And here is my salt. So I'm just going to crush in my hands a little bit of the mint, and I'm just going to stir them together. And I'm actually going to add in as well just this much, which is probably about a tablespoon of not salt but sugar. Okay, and the sugar is there just to ensure that it balances the acidity of the tomatoes. All I like to add at the end is a few cherry tomatoes that I have, and I just like to scatter them inside. And these cherry tomatoes just add a little texture inside the sauce as well. So it's not just liquidy, you get a little nugget of tomatoes as well, which is also nice. All right, so now our sauce is bubbling away, okay, and we've already tasted it for seasoning. So now this is the time that you introduce your stuffed peppers inside the sauce. So as soon as I'm going to put all the peppers in, I'm going to allow them to come to a boil. I'm going to cover them, okay, and then I'm going to turn down the heat to a simmer and allow them to cook till they are completely done. So the peppers will be cooked, the rice, the meat, everything will be cooked. So this is really, truly a one-pot wonder. Okay, so 40 minutes later, the big reveal, there it is. Stuffed peppers, fully cooked, and looking pretty gorgeous. I also like to add a few pine nuts, beautiful parsley, or if you have fresh mint, either one would do, would be lovely. Okay, so what I like to do and how I like to eat it is I have a little bit here of labneh, which is the thickened yogurt. So it's that acidic, thicker yogurt, something like a Greek yogurt, but we call it labneh in Arabic. So I'm going to drizzle on a little bit of that. This pepper is beautifully cooked. Look at that. All the meat and the rice is fully cooked because there was enough liquid inside the pan to cook this fully, okay? And now I have to taste and let you know exactly. So a little bit of pine nuts, a little bit of that labneh, and here it goes. The mint with the lamb is a marriage made in heaven. And that beautiful rice and lamb have been cooked thoroughly. Yum. Now, this is the kind of dish that you make when it's cold and you want something comforting and something beautiful and hot full of flavor. And let me know what you think. And if you're wondering where the recipe is, and everybody asks me in every comment, the recipe is always, always written in the text description of every video. If you're having trouble seeing it, you can turn your phone sometimes horizontally, and I've been told that you can see it when you do that. And all the information is there, all the quantities. I hope you give it a go. And if you don't have little teeny weeny peppers like these, you can certainly make the same filling, same sauce, same process, and use the bigger peppers and just adjust the cooking accordingly. Okay, so until then, I'm going to finish my my lunch, and I say goodbye, and I hope you enjoy. Saha.